The ferret's arrival. In the heart of an advanced intergalactic school, the alien instructor Kura, a distinguished member of the cautious and intellectual Interspecies, stood frozen in disbelief. Before him, a human named Marcus, with an air of nonchalance, wheeled in a cage containing a small but fierce creature. It was the first time such an animal had been seen by the alien students, and tension filled the room as the creature paced back and forth inside its enclosure. The creature, a ferret, looked small but predatory, with sharp teeth that gleamed under the classroom's artificial lights. Its sleek body moved with a predatory grace that sent shivers down the spines of the alien students. They belonged to a species that adored animals, but they had never encountered something like this, an animal that looked like it could tear through metal if provoked. Kura raised a skeptical brow as his instincts screamed that this was no ordinary pet. "Are you telling me that thing is safe?" Kura asked, his voice heavy with disbelief. Marcus grinned, leaning against the cage as if he had brought nothing more dangerous than a school supply. "Totally safe. Well, as long as you don't try to pet it too aggressively," he replied with a shrug, his words doing little to ease the growing concern in the room. The Ison students' reaction. The alien students, members of various species, each had their own visceral reactions. A group of Ruians, a species known for their caution, had gathered at the back of the classroom, whispering among themselves in hushed tones. They were a small, insect-like race, delicate in both body and mind. Their wide, reflective eyes darted nervously between Marcus and the ferret, clearly unnerved by the predator's mere presence. Among the group was Xian, a particularly anxious student with pale purple skin that had paled even more in the presence of the ferret. He had heard rumors of the human practice of keeping dangerous animals as pets, but he had never imagined he would witness it firsthand in his classroom. "How can this be allowed? They've brought a predator into a school," Xian whispered to his seatmate, his voice trembling. His words were met with a chorus of nervous agreement. The students exchanged uneasy glances, while others clutched their belongings tighter, as though the ferret might escape and attack at any moment. Marcus' explanation. Kura, despite his growing unease, was a professional. He had dealt with humans before, but nothing like this. He needed answers. "This creature, you claim it's common as a pet on your world?" Kura asked, folding his arms tightly, his posture betraying the skepticism he tried to hide. "Oh yeah," Marcus replied, seemingly oblivious to the unease filling the room. "This here is a ferret, one of Earth's most popular small predators. They're great for keeping pests away. Super smart and really playful. Kids back home love them." At this, the students stirred again, their fear growing stronger. The idea that humans would allow such a creature near their children was terrifying. The ferret's movements were swift and calculated, the kind of animal that could strike before you knew what was happening. Even its small growls, muffled by the enclosure, made the students flinch. One brave student, a Ruyan barely tall enough to see over his desk, raised a trembling hand. But it's a predator. Why would you bring a predator into a classroom?" His voice wavered, carrying the fear of everyone in the room. Marcus, still grinning, shrugged again. "Well, yeah, it's a predator, sure, but it's harmless. Mostly. As long as you feed it and don't stick your fingers near its mouth when it's excited." He looked around the room, still oblivious to the growing tension. "Trust me, it's fine." Kura's concern. Kura, who had studied creatures from hundreds of worlds, could barely comprehend what Marcus was saying. On his homeworld, predators were wild, dangerous beings to be avoided at all costs. Yet here was this human, treating a predator like it was a common house pet. He couldn't wrap his mind around it. "Tell me, human," Kura began, choosing his words carefully, "why would your people keep such a creature as a pet, especially around younglings?" Marcus' grin widened as he leaned casually against a desk, the weight of the collective fear in the room completely lost on him. "Well, they're smart, easy to train, and believe it or not, they're actually pretty affectionate. affectionate. Kura couldn't believe his ears. As he looked into the ferret's beady eyes, all he saw was a sleek, muscular body, ready to strike at the first sign of weakness. He had seen predators before, and every instinct in him screamed that this was a dangerous creature. Yet Marcus stood there, as relaxed as if he were discussing the weather. The ferret let out another low growl, and the entire classroom recoiled. Marcus, unbothered, chuckled. Yeah, they get real excited sometimes. But seriously, no one's ever been seriously hurt by one. Maybe a little nip here and there, but nothing too bad. The alien student's fear grows. The ferret, sensing the tension, darted to the side of its enclosure, claws scraping against the bars with surprising ferocity. The noise was sharp, causing a visible shudder to ripple through the students. Even Kura, who prided himself on his composure, took an involuntary step back. His instincts told him to flee, to get as far away from this predator as possible. Energetic, huh? Marcus said with a chuckle, seemingly oblivious to the classroom's growing fear. But seriously, it's harmless. The kids love it. Xian, who had been silent until now, couldn't take it anymore. He stood up, his chair screeching as it slid back. This is madness. How can you allow a predator like that near children? Don't you have non-predatory animals? Something less likely to bite? Marcus scratched his head, genuinely puzzled. Well, yeah, we've got those too. But where's the fun in that? The ferrets are a hit. Trust me, once you get to know them, they're great. Kura's final thoughts. Kura could barely believe what he was hearing. Humans, it seemed, had a completely different relationship with danger than the Isen or any other species he had encountered. Where his people saw threats, humans saw potential companions. Where others saw predators, humans saw pets. He glanced back at the ferret, still pacing inside its cage, and shook his head. This was just the beginning. If humans could bring creatures like this into the classroom, what else were they capable of? As the ferret's growls filled the room once more, Kura could only wonder what kind of chaos these creatures would bring to the galaxy. The chaos begins. The classroom had never felt so uneasy. Kura stood at the front, his eyes flickering between the ferret and the group of increasingly distressed students. The air was thick with tension, and every instinct told him this experiment, introducing a predatory animal to a classroom, was teetering on the edge of disaster. The alien students had retreated to the far side of the room, huddled together like a group of prey animals, their wide eyes locked on the ferret. Marcus, however, seemed entirely oblivious. He leaned casually against the desk, his arms crossed, watching the scene with amusement. See? Totally fine, Marcus said with a grin. Just give them a few minutes to get used to it. Kura wasn't so sure. The ferret was pacing more aggressively now, its movements quick and erratic. It was clear the creature was agitated, though whether it was due to the unfamiliar environment or the student's fear, Kura couldn't tell. Either way, he knew one thing for sure: this situation was a ticking time bomb. The tension escalates. One of the Isen students, a small green-skinned alien named Ral, raised a trembling hand. Instructor Kura, he began, his voice shaky. Are we supposed to interact with it? Kura glanced at Marcus, unsure of how to respond. The human gave a thumbs up, as though this was all perfectly normal. Kura hesitated, then addressed the class. For now, I think it's best if we observe the creature from a safe distance. The students seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief, but their eyes remained glued to the ferret, watching its every move with a mix of fear and fascination. The ferret, for its part, had stopped pacing and was now sitting in the corner of the cage, watching the students with its beady, calculating eyes. Xian, the anxious student who had voiced his concerns earlier, couldn't stay quiet any longer. This is absurd. That thing doesn't belong in a classroom. It's a predator. What if it gets out? What if it bites someone? Marcus chuckled, waving off the concern. Relax, man. It's perfectly safe. We had ferrets in classrooms back on Earth for decades. They're great pets, smart, fun and playful. Just give it some time. Zion's eyes narrowed. Your definition of safe is clearly very different from ours. A glimpse of trouble. As if on cue, the ferret suddenly bolted across the cage, its small body moving with lightning speed. It lunged at the bars, its sharp claws scratching against the metal with a screeching sound that echoed through the room. The students gasped, and Krua felt his pulse quicken. Marcus, still unbothered, glanced at the ferret. It's just excited. Probably senses the nervous energy in the room. Krua didn't share Marcus's casual attitude. He had dealt with dangerous creatures before, but this was different. This wasn't the wilderness, where predators and prey existed in a delicate balance. This was a classroom, filled with young, vulnerable students, and a predator, a ferret, no less, was currently the center of attention. The students shifted nervously in their seats, their collective anxiety feeding the tension in the room. One particularly bold student, a blue-skinned Aryan named Fell, spoke up. "What do you even do with a creature like that? How can it possibly be a good fit for a learning environment?" Marcus scratched his chin, as if pondering the question seriously for the first time. "Well, back on Earth, ferrets are used in classrooms to teach responsibility. Kids learn how to take care of them, feed them, clean their cages, stuff like that. They're fun to watch too, always getting into mischief." Mischief, Zian muttered under his breath. That's one way to put it. Krua could feel the situation slipping out of control. The ferret's erratic movements, the rising anxiety of the students, and Marcus's blasé attitude, it was all a recipe for disaster. He needed to regain control of the classroom before things escalated further. Just as Krua was about to intervene, Marcus clapped his hands together, startling everyone. "All right, who wants to come up and meet the ferret?" The room fell into a stunned silence. Krua's eyes widened in shock. "Surely you don't mean Toe." Marcus waved off Krua's concern. "Oh, come on. It'll be fun. Who's brave enough to come say hello?" The students recoiled as one, their fear palpable. Not a single hand went up. Krua felt his own sense of dread intensify. The last thing he wanted was for any of his students to get close to the creature. It was unpredictable, and the idea of one of them reaching into the cage filled him with unease. Zion's voice rang out, sharp and accusatory. "This is insane. You can't seriously expect us to get near that thing. It's a predator. It could bite, or worse." Marcus chuckled again, clearly enjoying the tension in the room. "Relax, Zian. It's all part of the experience. Besides, ferrets don't bite, unless you give them a reason to." Krua's patience was wearing thin. "Marcus, I must insist that we proceed with caution. The students are not accustomed to such creatures, and it's clear that the ferret is agitated." But Marcus was already unlocking the cage. With a swift motion, Marcus opened the cage door, and in an instant, the ferret darted out. The room erupted into chaos. The alien students screamed and scattered, scrambling to get away from the small but undeniably dangerous animal now loose in the classroom. The ferret, quick and agile, zipped across the floor, its sleek body weaving between desks and chairs with surprising speed. Its movements were erratic, unpredictable, and to the students terrifying. "Don't worry, it's just exploring," Marcus called out, but his words were lost in the panic. Krua rushed forward, trying to maintain some semblance of order. "Everyone, remain calm. Do not panic." But it was no use. The students were too frightened. Chairs were overturned, books were scattered, and the once orderly classroom had descended into chaos. The ferret, clearly enjoying the commotion, continued to dart around, occasionally stopping to sniff at a fallen object before zipping off again. Krua's heart raced. This was exactly what he had feared. The predator, though small, was causing havoc, and the students were helpless in the face of it. He needed to get control of the situation, and fast. Marcus, still grinning, didn't seem to understand the gravity of the situation. He moved toward the ferret, crouching down as if to call it back to the cage. "Come on, little guy. Time to settle down. But the ferret had no intention of settling down. It darted away from Marcus, skittering across the floor and heading straight for Xian, who was frozen in place, his wide eyes locked on the approaching creature. "Xian, move," Kura shouted, but it was too late. The ferret, sensing Xian's fear, lunged toward him. Xian let out a scream, and in a desperate attempt to escape, he toppled over a chair, landing hard on the floor. The ferret skidded to a stop, its nose twitching as it sniffed at the terrified student. Marcus hurried over, finally realizing that his little experiment had gone too far. He scooped up the ferret, holding it close as it squirmed in his arms. Okay, that's enough excitement for one day." Kura, his heart still racing, stared at Marcus in disbelief. "You call that excitement? You nearly caused a disaster." Marcus shrugged, looking sheepish for the first time. "Yeah, maybe I underestimated how they'd react. My bad." Kura sighed, shaking his head. This was only the beginning. If humans were going to introduce their unpredictable pets into alien schools, there would be more chaos to come, and he wasn't sure if the galaxy was ready for it. After the chaotic incident with the ferret, Kura dismisses the class to calm down. The students are visibly shaken, especially Xian, still rattled by the sight of the predator in their classroom. Kura confronts Marcus about the recklessness of bringing a carnivorous Earth pet into an alien learning environment. Marcus, while apologetic, explains that on Earth, ferrets are harmless and popular pets. Kura explains the deep cultural divide, where aliens like the Ison view predators with caution, making the situation more complicated. As class resumes, Kura emphasizes the importance of understanding different species' perspectives, using the incident as a teaching moment about interspecies cooperation. The students remain wary, but begin to reflect on the cultural gap highlighted by the humans' casual approach to predators. Unlikely friendships. As the controlled environment allowed for closer observation, a surprising development occurred. Some of the Ison students began to form bonds with the ferret. Under Marcus's supervision, they learned to handle the creature with care and even began to appreciate its quirks and intelligence. One student, a shy young Isan named Zine, discovered a particular affinity for the ferret. Through patient interaction and gentle handling, Zine was able to gain the creature's trust. This breakthrough not only boosted Zine's confidence, but also began to change the overall perception of the ferret among the Ison students. Marcus was encouraged by these positive interactions and continued to support the students in their efforts to understand and care for the ferret. The classroom environment gradually became more relaxed as the students gained confidence in their ability to manage the creature. However, not all students were convinced. Some remained apprehensive, fearing the potential risks involved. The debate over the ferret's place in the classroom continued, but there was a growing sense of acceptance and curiosity. With time, the presence of the ferret became less of a point of contention and more of a valuable learning experience. The Ison students, guided by Marcus, began to see the ferret not just as a dangerous predator, but as a complex and fascinating creature. The lessons extended beyond just understanding the ferret. The experience taught the students about patience, empathy, and the value of stepping out of their comfort zones. The ferret, once a symbol of chaos, now represented the possibilities of growth and learning through unconventional means. Kura, observing the transformation, recognized the benefits of the unique approach. He acknowledged that while the ferret's presence had been controversial, it had ultimately fostered an environment of creativity and resilience. The classroom's dynamic had shifted. The Isons were now more open to exploring new and unconventional ideas, inspired by the unexpected lessons learned from their unusual classroom companion. Building bridges. Encouraged by the progress, Marcus and Kuro worked together to develop a new program that incorporated unconventional learning methods. The ferret's presence had highlighted the potential for growth through diverse experiences, leading to the creation of a curriculum that embraced creativity and exploration. The program included not only studies of unusual pets, but also interactive projects that encourage students to think outside the box. The collaboration between humans and ensue led to innovative approaches to education, blending different perspectives and methodologies. The success of the program brought the two species closer together, fostering a greater understanding and appreciation of each other's cultures and values. The classroom, once a battleground of differing opinions, became a symbol of cooperation and shared learning. As the program continued to evolve, it attracted attention from other species and educational institutions across the galaxy. The success story of the ferret and the collaborative efforts of Marcus and Crura became a model for integrating unconventional ideas into educational systems. A new era. The innovative educational program, born from the challenges faced with the ferret, marked the beginning of a new era in interstellar education. The collaboration between humans and ensues demonstrated the power of creativity and adaptability in overcoming obstacles and building bridges between diverse cultures. The story of the ferret became legendary, illustrating the potential for growth and learning through unconventional methods. It inspired other species to explore new ways of integrating diverse ideas and experiences into their own educational systems. Marcus and Crura, having navigated the challenges and successes of their partnership, continued to advocate for the benefits of embracing diversity and creativity in learning. Their work led to the development of new programs and initiatives that furthered the cause of interspecies cooperation and mutual understanding. The legacy of the ferret and the lessons learned from its presence in the classroom served as a reminder of the importance of curiosity, resilience, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. As the galaxy moved forward, the story of the ferret remained a testament to the power of imagination and the endless possibilities that arise from collaboration and open-mindedness. The legacy of innovation. As the new era of interstellar education flourished, the story of the ferret and its impact on the alien classroom became a symbol of progress and innovation. The unique program, which began with the introduction of an unconventional pet, evolved into a model of educational excellence that inspired many across the galaxy. Marcus and Crura, now celebrated for their groundbreaking work, continued to push the boundaries of education. Their collaborative efforts had not only bridged the gap between human and ensue cultures, but also paved the way for other species to explore and integrate unconventional ideas into their learning environments. Educational institutions from various worlds reached out to learn from the success of the program. Workshops and seminars were held, where Marcus and Crura shared their experiences and insights. These sessions attracted a diverse audience, eager to implement similar innovative approaches in their own educational systems. The story of the ferret was featured in numerous publications and media outlets, highlighting the importance of creativity, resilience, and the willingness to embrace the unknown. The program became a case study in successful interspecies collaboration, demonstrating how unconventional methods could lead to meaningful change and growth. Meanwhile, the ferret itself became a beloved figure in the classroom. Its presence, once a source of anxiety, was now a cherished part of the learning experience. Students, both new and returning, eagerly looked forward to interacting with the ferret, finding joy and inspiration in its playful and energetic demeanor. As the years passed, the educational program continued to evolve, incorporating new ideas and technologies. The success of the program led to the creation of similar initiatives on other planets, each adapting the core principles to their unique needs and cultures. The legacy of the ferret and the partnership between humans and ensues became a beacon of hope and possibility. Marcus and Crura, looking back on their journey, were proud of the impact they had made. They had turned a moment of chaos into a lasting legacy of innovation and cooperation. The story of the ferret was a testament to the power of curiosity, creativity, and the unyielding drive to explore new frontiers. In the end, the tale of the ferret was not just about a single creature or a unique educational program. It was a celebration of the human spirit and the endless possibilities that arise when we dare to challenge the status quo and embrace the unknown. The legacy of the ferret and the program it inspired would continue to inspire and shape the future of education across the galaxy.